Hey, Liron here. Today I'm going to show you how to make your colors more interesting and how to include colors you wouldn't have necessarily thought would work well in a specific setting. So I'm going to show you first the wrong way to do it, which isn't wrong really, but a lot of people do this and they are unhappy with the result. And that is shading tonally, meaning I'm going to add shadows with the same colors I use. So the base color is a light orange. I'm simply darkening that orange. Maybe I add a bit of black there, but it's pretty much the same color that darkens it. There's nothing wrong about that, but when you actually observe a scene and look at the light and shadow, what you'll notice is that it has a bit more nuance and interest to it. There is reflected light, there's all sorts of interesting things that are happening. So I'm going to show you an interesting approach. With this one first, I kind of put a dot there, and I am painting around it. What this dot will be is essentially the highlight of the orange, and I add paint around that. And I'm starting very wet here because my goal is to almost structure this almost like a wet and wet, but it's starting with wet on dry, but then very fast I'm able to you'll see add some more nuances to it. The scene itself, by the way, is a very similar scene to the one I painted, what I've shown you with the aluminum foil. I shared it recently on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, I mean, what are we doing here? But yeah, there's a link on my channel. But in any case, I'm expanding the orange from this point outwards, and already I'm feeling some areas are warmer, so I'm adding red. The thing is, when you have an orange object, in this example, it's an orange, what you can do is break the color, separate it into yellow and red, and it will still look good. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The shadow itself is a little more gray. It's a little cooler even. It looks cool compared to the warm parts, but you don't have to go fully like blue. You can just use a neutral black or a relatively neutral black, because a gray will be perceived as cool in the context of a lot of warms. So when you look at this black, it looks very purpley, very violety. It's like leftovers of violet and black. And up top, I'm going to add a little touch of blue. Can you see that in the reference? A little touch of blue. Now, with what I have here, we're continuing to play. So we want to make the most out of it. What I'm seeing is the entire shadowy side needs to be darker, and we have an interesting reflected light on the right side. The orange is just darker, but we do have a core shadow that's a little stronger. It's a very minor differences, but I think it's worth including. And in a bold move, I'm already putting the cast shadow. I like to sometimes do that, and often when you paint again patches, dark next to a mid value, they won't merge too much. You actually have a lot of control over these kinds of things. To me, the ideal perfect watercolor is if I was able to paint the whole thing like this while it's still wet, to patch shapes next to one another, one next to another, next to another. My current weakness with watercolor is recognizing accurate colors, which is the thing I want to improve in order to be able to do that, because then I'll be able to mix colors faster. And by mixing them faster, I'll be able to do this patchwork while everything is still wet, which I find incredibly challenging yet still, unfortunately. So let's indicate that core shadow, just going darker. When I look at it again, I could have just gone with an orange, like a muted orange. I went with a really gray. Doesn't really matter, but it does leave me room to use an actual orange for the reflected light, which I like a lot. But already, if you compare like the picture and this, there's a lot of differences, and you could call it inaccuracies, but what you can't deny is that there is a lot of interest in the colors and a lot of variety. So the first orange we painted almost in a wet and wet process. We did a very first wash that was very gentle, and then we worked into that. Here, I'm going to do something different. I'm making a statement. I immediately go for strong colors. So I had this orange and yellow. Now I have this cleaner red. And I'm not covering the whole thing with a thin wash. I just go for the colors I'm seeing. And I think it's interesting to see in the same process two identical objects, two oranges, that were painted in quite different ways compared to one another. And it just gives you an idea of the vast array of techniques or approaches in watercolor. There are so many ways of reaching the same destination, and with different results or similar results, doesn't matter, but There are so many ways of doing it, and instead of looking for the way that matches you, my recommendation would be just to do what feels very natural, and you'll inevitably come upon the thing that works for you. Sorry again for the ambulance, it's crazy here today. But the key point is, instead of looking for an existing thing that will be the perfect match for you, just create it yourself. That's at least how I like to think about it. So now we have this dark orange and we have a black behind it. And that leaves us with one more orange to paint, and maybe we'll add a bit of definition to the areas around the oranges. Meaning, I do want to show some of the environment just to put the oranges into context. Okay, so the top of this orange feels a little, once again, neutral. It's actually a bit green now that I look at it, but I'm using blue. And that in itself adds a lot of interest to the entire scene, because when you have colors that are relatively similar, like orange and red and maybe gray, suddenly you break that pattern off with a blue. You don't need a lot of it to create interest. Just a bit of blue really breaks the the monotony, and it really brings it something interesting. And then later, and this is done really wet on dry in this beginning of the process, but I'm using that same trick I showed you earlier. Oh, check it out, by the way. So I put yellow next to red, and in my power is controlling that edge. See, I'm coming back with a dry brush, a relatively damp dry brush kind of, and then I'm shaping that edge exactly how I want. And you can do a lot of that with a brush. Now, it all depends on how wet what you have on paper is, and how wet the brush is. And that interaction of the two can lead to some very interesting manipulations of the edge. You can do quite a lot. Almost like you would in acrylics with a dry brush, where you just merge two colors together. You can do very similar things with watercolor. Actually, it's interesting to see. I don't use this effect nearly enough. I could make a lot more use of it. Now, to justify that blue, I'm adding a bit of blue to the surroundings, but this is going to be kept as a relatively abstract composition. I'm not going to paint the full scene. We're just going to add a background for the countertop, if you will. I just want to place these oranges in a setting. You don't have to, and I kind of like the way it looks right now. But I thought it would be interesting to just give it something to stand on. So I'm painting. It's still a bit wet, the oranges, especially that left one. Doesn't really matter. It won't cause us too many trouble. But while we're painting this kind of background wash, I also want to indicate the cast shadow of that other orange that we haven't yet included. And it's actually a good opportunity to do that while it's still wet, so that we will get a bit of the paint to spread. It is a very rough kind of way of painting. You can work a little more calculated. You can be a little slower. Here it is, the shadow. You can kind of do things a little more deliberately, but I like to just get an impression there. And when it works, it looks so good, and I think here it works as well. There's quite a lot of differences. I wouldn't say this is fully loyal to the reference photo, but my goal here is to show you how to use colors in an interesting way. And I know so many are interested in just that idea of not making a copy of the reference, but making your own statement. And I think if there's anything my videos are about, is that how to make a statement based on your vision, you know. But in any case, I really hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you gained something out of it. Again, don't take this as this is the wrong way and this is the right way. It's more about what motivates you and drives you to paint. So for me, I love seeing the different colors separate, which is why I do that. So again, thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to master watercolor freedom, you know where to find it. First link in the description box, the frustration-free watercolor course, break free. It is time. And lastly, I want to thank everyone who supports me over on Patreon. Really, really do appreciate that. Be sure to check it out if you are interested in some exclusive content and in receiving credits at the end of the videos. And also, I just posted recently a process there. Not a process, sorry. A kind of stream of thoughts post where I share a couple of my thoughts that I think this is a better forum and format to share. Feel free to check that out. And that's it. I will see you in the next one. Take care.